एकम् अक्षरम् हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम्। हृदय कुहर मध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् अहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति। हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता अनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्। देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तत भावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः। ओहं भावयुतः कुतो वरदिय दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday Satsang from Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning, it has been our practice to take two verses randomly from the work Guru Vachaka Kovai by Muruganar Swamigal. The random selection is done by Revatima. And read these two verses. Each verse reading is followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that is followed by the practice of Atma Vicharam for 10 minutes. After these two segments of verse reading, meditation on meaning, and self-enquiry are completed. There will be summing up remarks today by our President, Dr. Sarada, and that will be followed by the offering of Sri Ramanacentre. The chanting will be by Vaibhavji and Pratnama online, and we will be doing self-enquiry during that time by holding the enquiry, who is the listener. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we begin the satsang by going to the first verse selected for us, verse number 393. There is a note by Muruganar Swamigal, and there is also another reference. So I'll be reading the verse first. Those who have entered the excellent, straight, and direct path, the Jnana Vichara, who am I, never get confused and lose their way. Those who have entered the excellent, straight, and direct path, the Jnana Vichara, who am I, never get confused and lose their way. The reason is this path is straight and direct, like the light of a sun, light of the sun. It will reveal its straightness to those who have embarked upon it. There is a note by Muruganar Swamigal. Because of the non-dual nature of the self, enquiry, like other paths, has the undeviating enquiry, unlike the other paths, has the undeviating nature of always moving towards the self, taking that self alone as the target. Moreover, it does not branch out, giving scope for confusion. Because of this, it has been described as the straight and direct path. However much one progresses along other paths, they enable the aspirant to reach the self only by causing vichara, albeit for a brief moment. Hence, in order to bring out the superiority of vichara over all other paths, it has been described here as the excellent path. Take the self to be the sun and vichara to be tracing the source of the sun's rays. There is another note, Bhagavan. Because reality is only one, true Jnana Yoga is the direct path. Because there is no duality, there is no other path. In the shortcut of Swarupa Vichara, no fear or confusion arises because of the non-dual nature of the self. So the path itself, how it is direct, how it is straight, and how it is excellent. These are the 3 points noted for us. We can actually inquire into it. Each one of us, we can inquire into it without any analysis. We can directly see how it is so, that what is the path that has been given to us. There is a thought that arises in us. Right now, there may be a thought arising in us. Bhagavan is saying the Jnana Vichara of self-enquiry is the thought, like all other objects, is the non-self. So if you pursue it, it is Anatma Vichara. It is the analysis of the multiplicity of the non-self. Whereas the self is only One, whenever you ask for whom is this thought, if you fail to hold the who am I and go by the way of the thought, Akka would sometimes say that single thought could branch out into a million. Exactly the example Bhagavan gives when he was sitting with Ganapati Muni. I think it is in Skandashram days on some rocks, or was it in Virupaksha days? On some rock on the hill, they are both sitting, and from out of a small crevice, small hole in the rock, it appears a small moth is coming. Then in a moment, the whole front space, the space before them, is occupied by a cloud of moths. He says, this is how the thoughts work. We feel we are just pursuing one thought. What will happen to me tomorrow? Then that one thought suddenly blows up as the whole of the future possibilities, and which will suddenly bring all the past happenings, because usually we think of the future only based on what we have experienced. So that one thought, what will happen to me tomorrow? That's why holding of the self-enquiry is said to be direct and straight. If some other thought is given to us as support, let's say a deity's thought we hold, then we could have doubt whether he is the one who is running all the actions, or the knowledge of him is the knowledge of everything, or he himself is everything. That is, the mind could analyze the deity in terms of omnipotence, omniscience, or omnipresence, and each one of them could blow up into a world of their own. The omnipotence requiring us to describe who is the real doer and all that. Whereas, for whom is this thought, there is only one entry in the flowchart. There is no yes or no. The flowchart doesn't go as yes or no and yes leading to many yes or no branches. No. There is only one line. For whom is this thought? Who am I? So it is straight, it is direct. Why it is called direct? Because in all other paths, it may bring us to the unification of the mind. The whole area of mind can be unified by that one energy, Ramana. But then that one energy will ask us, who is the one who is holding the other? And finally, it will impel us to ask, who am I who is holding this one thought? So, albeit for a moment, it may be for a moment that the Bhakta who sees Rama all around, Ramana all around, comes to the self. But then that is definitely there to come to the Ekam Eva Dvitiyam. To come to the Advitiya Satyam, the objective nature of God has to be transformed into the Adhara of the very meditator. So it is the direct path. Instead of going through all that and each of the moment wondering whether I have grace or I am not having grace, and holding on to somebody in the outer and saying whether you are being graceful to me or not, all those doubts come up in the non-self. That's why Bhagavan says the real Guru, the real deity is within you. So it is not only the straight path where the flowchart does not have the branches. It is also the direct path, because what is to be ultimately reached in other paths? The elimination of the difference between the worshipper and the worship. That elimination is the only thing looked at in the Jnana Vichara of Atma Vichara. So it is the most direct path. Since it is the Mahayoga, which is the culmination of all other 4 yogas, Karma, Bhakti, Raja Yoga and the Jnana Yoga, all get complete only when the final toll is paid, only when the ego also gets absorbed in the self, the I thought is absorbed in the self. Therefore, it is called as the most excellent path. And suppose we get a doubt that whether we are having grace or not, and we find this doubt coming to sadhakas like Kapali Shastri. The questions in the Sadarshana Bhashya are all in one segment, they are all towards this, that what is the relationship between sadhana and grace. And Bhagavan ends that by saying, the very fact that you are doing sadhana indicates that grace must be there. So keep on doing. Who am I? In who am I, when the doubt arises, what we have to do? We have to still the mover, still the doubter. For whom is this doubt, whether grace is there or not? To me. Who am I? Still, there is no object. The doubt is squashed. That whole zone of certainty and doubt, the duality of certainty and doubt is eliminated when the doubter is stilled. That is the best way to see grace that is ever present and merge the sadhana with grace. Each time you are doing who am I, you are merging with the ever present. There will never be doubt whether grace is there or not. You may doubt whether this is blank or whether this is fullness of grace. Again, that has to be squashed by for whom is this doubt, whether this blank is void or full of grace. To me, who am I? Again, quite. That is why even the final doubt, what is the gap between grace and Purushartha or sadhana and the grace of God, which is yielding the final liberation. There is no answer. Only being liberated is the answer. Being liberated beyond the doubt of what is the difference between grace and effort. That itself is the solution. That is the solution which is straight, direct, and excellent, which we are going to practice for the next 15 minutes. 10 minutes, I'm sorry. Ujjwalji, you can help us out with the time. Thank you, sir.
Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
We continue the satsang by taking up the second verse selected for us. Verse number 630. The discriminating individual, having once experienced the heat of the hot sun, will not leave the cool shade and go back out to experience that heat again. The discriminating individual, having once experienced the heat of the hot sun, will not leave the cool shade and go back to experience that heat again. Likewise, those who have suffered amidst the threefold torments inflicted by the scorching world, should not, leaving the heart, go back into the world. Just give me a moment. Sorry about that again. Where do we find this reference of the blistering sun and the cool shade? One of the places is in the question number 24, and the answer of Bhagavan to it in the work Who Am I? In the work Who Am I, the question number 24 is, what is happiness? Sukam enbadu yadu. And Bhagavan says, உலகப் பொருள் ஒன்றிலாவது சுகம் என்பது இல்லை. உலகப் பொருள் இருந்து சுகம், உலகப் பொருள் இருந்து சுகம் கிடைப்பதாக நாம் அஞ்ஞானத்தால் நினைக்கிறோம். சுகம் என்பது ஆத்மாவே, ஆத்மாவின் இயல்பே சுகம். Even when we feel we are getting happiness from a worldly object, Bhagavan says the happiness is not coming from that object. When smell itself is not present in the mango, how can happiness be present in the mango? It does not come from the object, but from where does the happiness come? The limited entity feeling discontented, the consciousness going out and desiring something, and not only desiring it, but strongly having the feeling that the acquisition and experience of that is going to fulfill me, is going to make me really complete. That desire and the recoil of having got that, the recoil of that outgoing energy back into the self, the getting back to the self is what gives us happiness. Even in faint and in deep sleep, it is in the same place, the heart, that the happiness is enjoyed. Even when we feel somebody's nice words or a good memory is giving us happiness, it is not from the memory or the nice words. It is because that there is a like superimposed on those by the consciousness, by the one who feels he is the sum total of some limited parts. When we identify with the sum total of the body, the sum total of some memories embedded with emotions, the sum total of some thoughts we call knowledge, the sum total of the dualities of right and wrong, cause and effect, dharma, adharma, jnana, ajnana, all these dualities present in the intellect, we feel the knowledge of those is what we are. But are we that? When we inquire, as revealed in the previous verse that we had taken up, we are not the sum total of those parts. We are the consciousness whose nature is Sat, that means ever present, Chit, that means ever aware, and Ananda, that means ever aware happiness. It is oneness of ever aware happiness, or it is that the Sat itself is Chit, and that Sat Chit itself is Ananda. There is nothing apart from that. It is all only the blistering sun. And having once experienced, how do we experience it? Let's say a 15-year-old girl is married off in Tamil Nadu in 1950. Born in 1935, married off in 1950. She feels the husband, who is much more learned than her, is the one source of security. The security is one happiness which seems to be more prolonged, and when we feel we are given security by that one, within inverted commas, person, we feel safe. Then comes a time in 82, that person gets dismantled. As Bhagavan says, standing in front of his father's form, he says, the one I had called father is no more present in this body. Now, when that happens, we understand that we are in blistering sun. What was felt as shade suddenly reveals its nature, that there was no umbrella at all, that it is the blistering sun that is present. And such a one will come to relief only when the I thought is stilled. When the I thought does not feel that the happiness is outside it, but is verily present as Arunachala Ramana, as the Paramatman within the I thought. And once it realizes that shade, for a moment, for a trace, it has done, who am I? And freed itself of all doubt. Who is my real protector? My real protector is within me. When I don't hold any other thought, when I don't move at all, when I am still, the real protector reveals himself as I. When that shade is realized, when that shade is even experienced for a moment, then everything else becomes blistering sun. Now, why will somebody go out into the blistering sun when the real shade, the real security, the real protector is felt, and that too where? Not far away, very much within the I thought itself. The verse says, such a one will not go out into the blistering sun again. The discriminative individual, having once experienced the heat of the hot sun, that means he has experienced the coolness of the self, so he realizes what is the hot sun, will not leave the cool shade of the self and go back to experience that heat again. Likewise, those who have suffered amidst the threefold torments inflicted by the scorching world, anything else other than the still life is the scorching world, should not leave the heart and go back to the world. So such a one who has even for a trice you have stilled the eye, then don't have any thought that the happiness is going to be in the world. The tapatraya is what is the three types of problems that afflict us are adhyatmika, that is caused by one's own body and mind, adi bhautika, caused by the natural forces, and adi dhaivika, or by extra human, extra natural forces. So the adhyatmika caused by one's own body and mind, adi bhautika by the nature around, and adhyatmika by forces of spirit beyond these two. Those are the tapatraya. The tapatraya will completely vanish when the eye is still, and that's what we are going to practice for the next 10 minutes. Stilling the eye, where the cool shade of Bhagavan is shining as I, and not go back into the Triputi of seer seeing scene, where the Tapatraya is only present. So let's experience the reality of the shade of the stillness of the eye and the presence of the I. For the next 10 minutes, we will sit in self-enquiry.
Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. May I request Dr. Sarada to give us the summing up remarks. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. With immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we in this satsang have been meditating on the teachings of Bhagavan, and we have also been blessed to practice the self-enquiry. If we look at both these verses together, which Bhagavan has blessed us with today, my mind goes to the shloka in Ramana Gita, where Karshni asks Bhagavan, what is self-enquiry and what is the benefit of self-enquiry? And Bhagavan says, Sarva klesha nivrittisyat phalam atma vicharataha. The fruit of self-enquiry is the cure for all sorrows, all afflictions. In the second verse, we looked at the kinds of afflictions that can come to us. So Bhagavan says, in that answer of his, he says that self-enquiry is the cure for all sorrows, sarva klesha. And then he says, asti netodhikam phalam. There is no fruit higher than the fruit of self-enquiry. And he also, in that very same chapter, he says, Kashni asks him, what about the other paths? Then Bhagavan says, you can get various siddhis, adbhuta siddhaya sadhya. You can get a lot of wondrous siddhis, upayantara taschayaha. Ta praptopi. Even if you get all those siddhis, ultimately, vicharenaiva nivrataha. Only through self-enquiry you can become liberated. Bhagavan also uses the phrase Chungat Chavadi Tappad. That is to say, the police post. He says a robber was trying to escape from the policeman the whole night, and then exhausted and thinking that he had found a safe place, he went to sleep somewhere, and when he woke up, he found that he was right in front of the police station. So he says that there are many paths which one can follow, but ultimately one must come to self-enquiry. The other paths will lead us. Adu unna kondu pohum. On many occasions, Bhagavan has told, adu kondu poi udu. Where will it take you? It will take you to the doorstep of self-enquiry. Again, Bhagavan has also said, there are many paths which lead to Mecca, but only one doorway into Kaaba. There is only one pointedness. You have to get into the one path of self-enquiry. So Bhagavan says, why not you start with that itself? Why, when that is available to you, why don't you do that? Sarva klesha nivritti. But we may or may not apply that self-enquiry to all our problems, no matter what the problem is. Do we believe that the answer lies in self-enquiry? Will we apply self-enquiry for that problem? If we do that, then we will not have any necessity to pursue the thoughts. When we pursue the thoughts, we think that we believe that the solution lies in that direction. But as Nandakumar said, who knows at what point of time which support will be taken away or dismantled? We cannot have any guarantee of any of the supports. What happens then? In fact, even the spiritual sadhanas, the supports of the spiritual sadhanas, all of them, the best of them, will disappear in deep sleep. Other than the self, nothing will come to our support in sleep. This body of ours is not going to support us. It is going to disappear on some day. Mind, we cannot say very often. Again, Nandakumar ji has quoted the instance of how he met a person who was the greatest of intellectuals, and suddenly, due to some brain fever, to some infection, he had completely lost many of his brain functions. So, what guarantee is there in any of the things which we believe will support us? And if they will not, then what is going to support us? What is going to solve our problems? It is only the self which is available to us through self inquiry, Bhagavan says. Again and again, no matter who comes to Bhagavan and asks whichever question in whichever form, Bhagavan refers to this direct path again and again. If Shantamma comes and says, Bhagavan, please destroy my mind, Bhagavan will say, bring that mind before me. Is there such a thing as mind? Inquire. If you bring that mind before me, I will cut it away. Or if one Venkateshwara Sharma, who is such a great astrologer, can give prashnam and answer and find the solutions. My ring is lost. My diamond ring is lost. Where is it gone? He can see the Prashnam and say, oh, it is not stolen. It has fallen in the plantain grove at the back of your house itself, in this particular place. That solution he can find. He can find all the solutions in Jyotisha. But his own son, he knew his son is going to die young through the same Jyotisha. And what was the solution? There was no solution to it in Jyotisha. But when he came to Bhagavan and he asked Bhagavan, is not Jyotisha a great science? Bhagavan says, yes, yes, it is, but it is not. Nothing is equal to Atma Vidya. And Bhagavan has said in his Atma Vidya Kirtanam, Emmargam Adaninam, Immargam Mikka Yedidu. Aye Ati Sulabham. This path is very easy. What is that path? To find out who is it who is saying I. Within us, something is saying, someone is saying I. Who is that I? To find out for ourselves. Who is the I who is having the several problems? Who is the I who is having the several desires? To find that out, Bhagavan is again and again, out of his compassion, he is reminding us about the availability of this medicine, this rare medicine, which can cure all our ills, which can give us a solution to all our problems. And if we do not take it, then we are running into the sun, says Bhagavan. We are running into the scorching heat. Why run into the scorching heat? But the mind may be accustomed to it, and that is why Bhagavan, in His grace, has manifested Himself as all these words of grace, which come to us again and again, which remind us where the light lies, where the answer lies, until the mind again starts moving outward or gets into its habitual ways. And then Bhagavan again comes to us through his words of grace and says, turn within through self inquiry, do self inquiry, catch hold of that, catch hold of that. That alone is the answer. Bhagavan has given this answer repeatedly. If we look at his teachings, whether it is Shiva Prakasham Pillai or Gambiram Sheshayar or Ramanadasa Sadananda or Ganapati Muni, and later in later years also, it has been even to Muruganar, the twin works were given. Aksharamana Mala was given. And who am I was also given to Muruganar, which drew him to Bhagavan. So this is the answer which Bhagavan is giving us repeatedly. Professor S.K. Ramchandra Rao, he says Bhagavan is the Bhavaroga Vishak. He takes the Ashtotra Nama, which we will be hearing shortly. He says Bhagavan is a teacher, he is a world teacher, but he is a healer. He is a healer for all the sorrows that the ego raises through the path of self inquiry, which he has given, through this medicine of self inquiry, which he has given. And Professor says the healer is so much needed because all of us are having so much of sorrow within us. Some sorrow we express, some sorrow we cannot express, some sorrow we ourselves are not aware of. That because otherwise, again and again, we are seeking some paltry satisfaction. The sorrow of being incomplete, the sorrow of being limited is such a deep sorrow in us. And we really don't have any answer for that. There is this pain. That is why we want some recognition somewhere. All the time, we want people to tell us, keep on reassuring us in some way or the other, yes, what you're doing is right, what you're doing is good, you are important, you're a good person, you're a nice person, we are fond of you. We keep wanting these reassurances. Why? Because of that deep down sorrow of being limited. That cup which can never be filled because this limited being can never be unlimited. But that is our truth. Our true nature is beyond all limitations. And so Bhagavan, in great love and compassion, has given us this answer, and He it is who is ensuring that we keep coming back to it, keep coming back to it. That is His infinite grace. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri
Namo Ramana.
Ramana.
May I request Vaibhavji and Pratnama to chant the Ramana Stotram, and the rest of us can hold who is the listener. Namo Ramana.
नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितम् श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामावलिः अपार सच्चे सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं रभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। ॐ महासेन महोंसेन जाताय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः। ॐ गुरवे नमः। ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः। ॐ महौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्हितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौळिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्द्रशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजतचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्बोधस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ मृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानूररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवशस्तादात्म्यभावङ्गतः वृन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् प्रनाशेकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदम् लोकोत्तर ज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
नमो रमणा वैभव जी प्रार्थना मा. नमो रमणा का.
नमो